Hey everybody, welcome back to Your Free TV. And it is Wednesday, August 5th, 2026. I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll jump right in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting the free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So glad to be back with you here on You Are Free TV. I want to start out by saying, please could you like and subscribe and share? I know those seem like trite things, but with this massive shadow banning, as if you saw my video yesterday, the digital matrix that is against blocking people like me, if you knew me from years and years ago where I had, over 100,000 subscribers and blah, 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 I can't get out of there unless I have your help. And even then, they'll just reduce the views, the numbers, etc. On Rumble, the subscribers stay at 10.8 thousand for like 2 years. I mean, it's ridiculous. So your help in that would be awesome. So thank you. And I always start also by saying thank you so much for everybody supporting the channel, especially monthly. You make it happen, but all of the work that you do in supporting the channel with your donations is so appreciated. Okay, so jumping in here with the news, and you'll probably have seen from the thumbnail sort of where this is going, but I'll start with this, and I'll put on the glasses here so I can see what I'm doing. But basically, that we have one thing, Trump coming out today. He spoke in Las Vegas, and he was at the Red Rocks Club or something like this, casino or something. And he was basically going there, I think, to thank a lot of people who are funding this new mine for rare earth minerals and all of this other stuff that's going on out there in Nevada. But what he had to say, I thought was really interesting in the speech. He said many things that were poignant, but this really caught my ear. And what he had to say was, when we are done in Iran, we will have completed something that is nothing short of a miracle. Okay, that's a quote. And basically what he is describing there is that this whole plan, there's the dealing with the geopolitical stranglehold on energy by the City of London and Cartel Babylon, that Anglophile-centered cartel control of world energy has been such a hobbling of America, but also the world. And where we're going here is having, of course, the world independent of this in a free world that has never been seen before. And this is where this has to be done in order for the American economy to be able to succeed in getting out of the massive pit of destruction that it was slated for and nearly almost done. And so I thought that was very poignant. I'll get more into that later in this video, but I'm going to pivot from there to talk about the incredible news that came out from John Solomon today. And this, of course, has to do with the blocking by John Thune and Thune Cotton. Specifically, he names them as being the two senators who are refusing for 4 months, he believes over 8 months in total. They're the grand conspiracy case that's going on with Joe DeGeneva down in Florida in the Fort Pierce area, and also with the U.S. Attorney Canones in Miami, fantastic U.S. attorney there. They are, of course, dealing with the grand conspiracy case that it's still ongoing, which is great because every time you find out new crimes that are going on, it continues the conspiracy, and it blocks the running out of statutes of limitations, and they just found more crimes. And this is obstruction of justice going on now by John Thune and by Thune Cotton with the Senate Intelligence Committee. And just remember, SIAA, Thune Cotton, the corrupt state of Arkansas, and Thune, the feckless, awful leader of the Senate. Again, we want John Thune out as leader of the Senate. I'm all for Mike Lee being the leader, but we'll get to that in a moment. But what John Solomon had to say was that he now has total proof that it is Thune Cotton and John Thune as the major players who are blocking the evidence of getting all the transcripts from all of the interviews of John Brennan. okay, former CIA director, involved of so much that had to do with the weaponization of the government against Trump, and then, of course, everybody else that was attacked in the attempt to have a coup over this country, of a duly elected president, et cetera, et cetera. And people get bored with this subject as if it doesn't matter. It's still going on. It's still going on. And it's really, really massive. So what he had to say is that they have been for 8 months total since the grand jury was put in, against with John Brennan at the center of it, and it reaches into James Comey being involved in these same cases with the grand juries, is that they've been trying to get these transcripts that absolutely shows the proof of everything that John Brennan did and said, to do with conspiracies against Trump with Russiagate, and moving, way past that into everything that came after, that they are blocking those going. And so that is obstruction of justice. And so there should be a subpoena going to them. And so what happened is that John Solomon also revealed that it has been acting Attorney General Todd Blanche who has been the one obstructing this, that he is not making a subpoena happen. They should be subpoenaed. There should already be a new grand jury that is dealing with the fact that they're committing sedition here, that they are obstructing justice, as our acting senators. And this is, of course, our problem, right, is that we have a disgusting, awful Senate. And we have President Trump also saying today at the Las Vegas event, he said, he's like, we have to have our bodies of Congress have to get tougher. They have to act. And, he always says things so, nicely, but he's like, especially our Senate has to get tougher. And basically we know that, we've come so far in routing out and just exposing to the world, but to the country and to America in general, the deep state as it involves the Democrats, right? And because of all of the massive attacks of and huge propaganda machine that has been trying to divide MAGA forever, people are much more lenient on the deep state rhinos. And so I'm going to get more into that of what's being talked about with this third party, and everybody's kind of hair on fire about it. But I believe it is a progression of events and a progression and evolution of American consciousness and awakeness to what needs to happen moving forward, because it is now, the Democrats, we know, are just, absolutely seditious, for the vast majority of them. But then we have, of course, the Republicans that we have to deal with. So getting more into what John Solomon reported, and I'm linking it all below so you can check it out and read the whole thing for yourself, is that we have AG Blanche not subpoenaing Cotton and Thune to release the documents from those committees that they chair. Okay, this is Senate Intelligence and the Senate Judiciary, and that this is what has happened in every other case, that the DOJ comes in and subpoenas when it comes to things as far back as Watergate, or look at Whitewater with Clinton, or Iran-Contra, et cetera, that he is not doing his job. And so, of course, yesterday I was like, oh, they need to have the AG be in there solid. But, then you see this today, and it just confirms all of my awful fears about Blanche and him kind of being the one behind Bondi and her inaction and obstruction there. And we see, it was the same thing with Lisa Monaco, right, with Merrick Garland. She was kind of the real general behind the Attorney General as the, as the deputy, as the assistant. And so now this, just want you to know that. And of course, we're going to have to also, understand that, we also have to understand that this gets into also this $1.8 billion weaponization fund, right? Anti-weaponization fund, that that $1.8 billion of the settlement that Trump won from the IRS was going to go towards all of this, right? Because if you have $1.8 billion, you might think, well, the Americans who suffered under that all of the reporters, all of the J6ers, everybody. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money besides and on top of going against the lawfare that's coming, but also the lawfare to get these cases done, to rout out these criminals, such as Tom Cotton and John Thune, and knowing that they're guilty. And when you look at the weaponization fund and who they're covering up for, who empowered the weaponization, and we look, what my video yesterday covered a lot of that to do with things like all of the bot farms out of Ukraine. Okay, the Integrity Initiative, project that was, going after and weaponizing information, the tech companies, okay, their involvement, all of this in the massive lawfare, and what would happen for people to be criminally prosecuted, and that $1.8 billion goes a long way in what's coming with these grand conspiracy cases. And so when we see, Cornyn and Tillis, who are about to go out to pasture and hope to avoid, any prosecutions in the future, they were used, of course, as the obstruction, supposedly with AG Blanche, to get this weaponization fund defunct. And we thought it was just, oh, you don't want to pay back those poor suffering J6ers. And there was a judge in DC who yesterday, I believe, or maybe today even, did go forward to drop charges, with some of the remaining charges on some of the J6ers, of the Oath Keepers, etc. So that's good news. But this is very interesting because this rabbit hole goes so deep into Republican operatives, and that part, I believe, is the next phase of where the huge our attention needs to go. And I believe that part of what's going on with this third party, dump on Trump and all of this, is part of awakening that. And I'm on the fence about it. As far, I very much believe in what is going on here in this tackling of the biggest problem in the world, which is Cartel Babylon, the bankster elite, running for centuries, but deeply the last 80 years, out of the City of London to destroy America and take us for all we're worth. That this operation is moving forward in the way that it is planned to, and to save the economy as well. And yet the next phase here is really getting people to understand that this Republican Democrat thing is a ruse. Okay, these people are all involved in it, and especially when you get to the Senate level, if you've lost your integrity, by getting there, there is those are the most powerful people that are involved in this council of members that is in charge of the SES, and that links right back to the City of London and the King's Privy Council and the Pilgrim Society and all of it. And so this is huge news, and I just, I can't say enough how thrilled I am to hear it today. I think it's amazing. And this weaponization fund kind of being the beard, that was the we're anti this weaponization fund, becoming a thing with Cornyn and Tillis being used as the fall guys here, when really they're against the conspiracy against rights, the weaponization grand juries that are assembled. Okay, that makes much bigger sense. This is about the weaponization grand juries, and they're trying to twist on AG Blanche, like, hey, you're not going to start issuing subpoenas around this, are you? And so AG Blanche in the hot seat, because he has not moved forward. This has been sitting there. Joe DeGeneva, as leading the cases down there, demanding this information, it being blocked by another traitorous DOJ. And so what Solomon also brought out today, of course, was the exposure of Oxford, which was another operation from the FBI right immediately in spring of 2017, to go and try to investigate Trump by the FBI. And this was right after Comey was fired, for the purposes of not going further with the Hillary Clinton national security crimes, with her emails and all of that. And they tried to make it into no. He was, Comey was fired once again, on the behest of Putin, right? And they were just going full bore, and to cover up of course, all of the evidence that existed for how they knew, again, that Trump was not a Russian agent, blah, blah, blah. It's like you get so sick of hearing it. But basically, it is very important, because what Solomon has pointed out here is that Oxford comma was Rod Rosenstein, already knowing, okay, as he was opening special counsel with Mueller, to investigate Trump, he already knew that all of this was bogus, but it was Rod Rosenstein who allowed for the firing of Comey, and yet he was then in charge of course, doing the special counsel with Mueller. And this Oxford comma investigation went from May 2017 all the way through April of 2019, when that freaking Mueller special counsel finally dissolved, in his report forthcoming, at which time he had almost lost his mind. Do you remember that? He went kind of into full dementia mode towards the end of his investigation, and everything Robert Mueller, back to the Boston FBI field office, and his whole play with Whitey Bulger, and running all those operatives, and everything that he did in his criminal FBI reign. And so very interesting to know that that's all coming out at the same time, because it's all part of this same weaponization, in these cases going down in Florida. So thanks for listening to my little bit rambling explanation of all that, but it is very, very important to understand, because without the going into to have the completion of this grand conspiracy cases, the grand conspiracy, it's a conspiracy against rights, not just against Trump, not just against the hundreds of people affected in that directly, but against the American people. This is a conspiracy against rights in the attempted and then 2020 coup of trying to take down a president, and then to have what became the election coup of 2020. So very, very important and interesting. And another very important thing that went down, and why I put it in the thumbnail, if that works out today, is that there is, again, yesterday. So yesterday, Trump flew to California, to his golf course there in what is called Rancho Palos Verdes or something. Rancho Palos Verde in California. And when he was getting ready to take that trip, on the flight from the White House to Joint Base Andrews, to catch his, to go to California, on that Marine One flight, there was a huge security breach that happened. So it's already like the day before he was going to that golf course for this speech that he did there, he basically there was already a breach of security there, where you had some random dude, Janine Gentil, surveilling the course and doing basically a sort of casing, taking pictures of security and taking pictures of the whole place, and he was arrested, and he ended up having like an AK rifle and pistol and explosives and all kinds of things on him. And you watch on the news, and they're just like, yeah, this was a cosplay thing. He was just, he was a real amateur. Again, interesting name, and interesting where he may have came from. I'm kind of wondering, is it going to link back to Ukraine? Did he have a USB handler for entertainment purposes only? Because that seems to constantly be the way, whether it's Butler or Palm Beach or now California. But on Marine One yesterday, what we saw was that Trump was flying from the White House to Andrews, and basically Reagan International Airport has to seesaw flights that, from taking off or landing, that there is a period when POTUS is in the air, that they're not allowed to have flights conflicting with his flight. And they did. They let out a flight, and it was a total. It's what they call a loss of separation incident. And so basically, there was a flight that took off into the airspace in which Trump was flying. Total breach. I mean, it doesn't happen. And so this also happened yesterday. This was a AA American Airlines subsidiary called Envoy Air, flight 3742, going to Pensacola. And so that these things keep happening. They keep happening, right? It's a huge spider web of evil going on around the president. And so, very important. Okay. And so, going on from there, I'm going to go into um, talking about a couple things. A little update on the Ukraine situation. We're getting we get it confirmed that Trump has refused to give more Patriot missiles to Ukraine. So it's not just the licenses, etc. No missiles for you. Okay, no missiles for you. Basically, or components thereof. That saying that that Patriot missiles that the U.S. has gone from 2,500 down to 1,000, and that they cannot be spared. And Europe is telling Zelensky the same thing, which is why I do believe there is going to be a change of guard in the Ukraine. But also, it's looking, Russia basically has almost all of eastern Ukraine, and what was Russia. And so basically, I think that's where it's going to be ending up, that Russia is going to take eastern Ukraine, and that there will be the protection of the Russian descent people there. And of course, the rare earth minerals, right? Because that's really where the rare earths are. And so we're seeing that that things are kind of winding down as they know that with the winter approaching, there's not much they can do outside of huge FFs. They tried to kill the guy who provides the drones to Vladimir Kachuk, who is who makes the Ghoul drones, the UPYR drones, the UPYR drone manufacturer. They tried to blow him up in this campaign they've been doing, which is kind of a terror campaign, trying to assassinate as many as they can and kill people randomly, right, on the beaches and resorts, etc., out in the Crimea. And so that's what Ukraine has been doing. And it hasn't been, of course, very effective. I think the big one that was the big thing that they failed at was when they tried to bring up all of those when there was supposed to be that false flag operation where they were going to claim that Russia was trying to come down through that Suwalki Gap that I was talking about, or Sluwaki Gap, and have there be a new frontier of the war. And then they were caught trying to smuggle all these drones up through that same area. They were caught by the Russians, and therefore it ended that in this attempt to try to drag Belarus into the war. And so things are not going well for any continued Ukraine conflict, as much as they, as I was saying yesterday, that Zelensky, Valery Zelensky, the UK's new man for the presidency of Ukraine, is saying we're post NATO, we are beyond, our military is the best now. NATO doesn't even compare to us, kind of thing. Now that they've lost, now that they can't get anything else, now that everything's been sucked dry, and Zelensky has told all his ambassadors, in your appointments in your nation that you are serving us in, you have to, get a handle, you have to get a hold of all of their missiles, you have to get them. And it's just not happening. And so time is running out, and this is a race as they're, of course, trying to go post NATO, as I described yesterday. You can watch that video if you haven't. But Vladimir Kachuk, he was, again, the founder of the Ghoul drone facility, and he had been supplying these cheap drones that were being very effective, but they got him with an assassination attempt. He's severely wounded right now, and the driver in the car that he was in is dead. This is 870 miles east of Moscow, in Yekaterinburg, Russia's fourth largest city, industrial city in the Ural Mountains. And so it's very interesting because this comes after a couple of days after um, Ukraine had shot shot missiles at a another Turkish vessel. This time it was carrying produce to Russia. So this constant, not constant, but this revving up of this animosity with Turkey. And interestingly, when these drones were coming out of Iran on this tanker that was also shot by Ukraine in the Caspian Sea, you had Zelensky apologizing to Iran, apologizing for that. So very interesting behind the scenes here. Zelensky apologizing to Iran about hitting that drone carrying the drone delivery boat that was going ship that was on its way through the Caspian, and apologizing, saying, oh, we don't want Iran to attack us now. But very, very interesting when you look at it from the larger picture. So that is interesting. You also had another assassination attempt, or a major Tist attack attempt in Colombia that was thwarted. They have their inauguration of the new president, which is Abelardo de la Espriella, and butcher that. I don't know how to say these names, but he, of course, is the new conservative president of Colombia. And there was 420 kilograms of ammonium nitrate seized. That was part of what they expected was a massive bombing attack meant to happen in the area, the vicinity of where the inauguration was planned to happen. And it's very interesting. This guy, Espriella, is a dual citizen of the U.S. Okay, he got his citizenship in the U.S. in 2023. And, there's a lot of Israel connections going on here with this Colombia new president and where he's at. Okay. He kind of created this Defenders of the Homeland Party conservative movement in 24. And then he ends up, becoming president, won in a very, 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 very small margin. And then they're going to get out of the UN. They're going to get out of all of these treaties that are connected to globalism. But then there's also a lot of major Israel stuff going on here, and a certain connection he had with the former president. Um, what is the former president's name? Um, Pastrana, Andre Pastrana. And there's a lot of, he's in the Epstein files. He's like 50 times in the DOJ files, and said to have had multiple flights with Ghislaine Maxwell and all this kind of stuff. And as a lawyer, Espriella represented him back in the day. This was back in 2018. But then it only came out later that he was an Epstein guy. And so, yeah, there's, we don't, where's the lines? Is this a redemption arc? It's hard to keep following every single one of these new players out there. But I wanted you to know that was going on. And let's see, what else am I going to cover here? I think I'm going to maybe dive a little bit into this third party plan that, people are kind of freaking out about. And when we look at all the division of anti-MAGA, anti-Trump now, and this America First, I'm America First, everything that's going on around there, that whole situation, right? It is, what I mentioned in the beginning is, it's a two-part plan, this whole long operation to save America and kind of free the world from this cartel Babylon stranglehold, and to have Russia, China, and the USA be independent of this Anglophile cartel that has been running, especially the world with control of energy and resources. That's always it, of course, but energy is the number one. And so in order for the U.S. to get its sovereignty back, this operation in the Middle East and Iran specifically, with its massive, it's like a Ukraine of the Middle East, operations of massive corruption and the control of militias and the just the what is the creation of all of um, the center of a spider web of the different militia operations, the terror operations, all of it, um, all of it in the name of stealing energy for the richest people in the world, right? And so this is, where Trump says, it'll be nothing short of a miracle when we finish what we've accomplished there. And so, but that's kind of the first part of what is the restoration of sovereignty and freedom. The second part, of course, is the domestic sphere. And that's why you're having everybody who has a conscience, but maybe not the understanding of what is what's needed to transform this broken, almost demolished country and economy out, is to first take care of this massive business, okay, of international energy cartel, and what it means then to be able to have total energy glut here in the USA, and to have there be cheap energy. And we're getting there. We're getting there. And to have there be cheap energy, but also expanding into this nuclear fusion zone where the nuclear policies of the past, people are super worried, oh, he's changing the nuclear doctrine. It's, the Pentagon's shifting, like they're going to be using tactical nukes and all of this stuff, when actually, as we've seen the depletion of Patriot missiles and other things, and depletion, there is this move absolutely towards using space-based weapons. Okay, and don't love it. No, don't wish that wasn't the way, what was going on in the world. But when we're talking about space-based lasers and but seriously, like really, or hypersonic missiles that are delivering these new weapons that are like the Earth wave weapon and all of these huge new systems, the shift in the focus and the kind of moonshot activity that is coming down is based in this new technology, and things are changing. And Trump wants to denuclearize, okay, these countries. He wants to denuclearize um, with Russia, with China, and he said, Russia's for it. China might be a little more difficult. But who he's not talking about, of course, the big player being Israel, and then we have Pakistan, India, etc. But there is this step-by-step motion towards what is largely becoming space-based uh, field operations, the new domain, and of course that's why the Golden Dome, et cetera, et cetera. But back to this whole third-party plan and how everybody's, oh, Tucker and MTG and General Flynn and Joe Kent and all these people who are anti-Trump are coming out, and General Flynn, tweeting these things about Trump's crazy having Xi come into the U.S. and that there's a huge kind of propaganda machine going on here, and it has to do really with, I think, that there is just a shift where as people are getting more and more outraged who are awake, which for the most part is independents and Republicans or conservatives, that we're super frustrated to watch in this Congress how Trump's agenda can't be in place, and how they won't execute his agenda. And it's the Republicans with a Republican House and a Republican Senate not doing what Trump's agenda is. And so it's for everybody to see, and everybody is horrified by it. And so when you think of this new third party, and of course everybody running from the Democrats as the socialist Islamists, are in the crazy town people, um, are taking hold and basically capturing the Democrat Party, which is just basically surrendering with a white flag in front of them. This possibility of what's coming with a new domestic uh, domestic success, okay, that is coming, with the domestic success that is coming, to how do we have a bigger tent with a party of people that can bring in people who will never be Republican, plus people who are especially in the younger generations, fleeing this, what they see as old, people stuck in their ways, neocons and traitors, right? And aligned with, the APAC money and all of this. And don't think it has to be an either or a one, two, 1, 2, 3 options like a shell game. There's time for an evolution of how this goes. And as all these points keep coming out, it is mostly like, what do you think in your, in your telic center, in your gut, and what with your critical thinking. It is not like, oh, I have to choose a side. I have to be over here. I have to be over here. That's that is the bot farm Ukraine out of Ukraine and Israel attempt to control your mind, and everywhere else, China. Um, you don't need to be in either camp. It's really just you have to be in your ethic and moral center, right? Your ethics and moral center. And it means taking action. And especially the best thing to do is locally, right? It's your local candidates that mean the most. It's your local candidates that are going to destroy your life, if they're not the right people. And it's what happens locally, and it's the payoffs we're seeing, like in Texas. In all of those cities around, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where mayors are being paid off by the Indians who are running the H-1B body farms, right? And then in all of these industries that allow them to bring in tons of Indians and then create, all of these mosques or temples. And same with the Islamists, right? It's the local people. It's the local people, and it's all that money behind it. So that's where our job is, and it's not to get worried and hair on fire that everyone's gonna whatever, jump off two sides of a boat and the boat's just going to be there like flopping in the wind. No, just keep moving forward, okay, and keep communicating, because people are changing, people are waking up, and it is confusing, and it's kind of the end of like having there be any absolutes when there is an evolving situation that is going on right now, like no other time in history, really. This is an incredible, incredible moment. And so I just wanted to say that, we've got the Donroe Doctrine moving forward. We've got hemispheric defense. We've got this whole shift that comes along that is going to present a whole different outlook for people. It's going to happen organically because it will be happening in their lives. And the contrast will start standing out more with the Islamism, right, as the commies go forward, pushing more and more people away from them, right? So it is, there is something about, an organic shift that is going to take place. And so I just wanted to offer that out there, that as we watch the reversal of all of the heinous plans of what was to be, of course, zero energy, own all the assets by natural asset corporations. People are just, digital energy pads, like to create energy for the grid, for the giant, um, you know, the giant running the matrix thing, right? We sort of move beyond that, and we have all this AI danger to worry about, but it is the consciousness of people is moving past it. And so I kind of wanted to offer that hope of don't get all like super, freaked out or worried about this third party situation, because I think it's serving a purpose. It already is broken. The people who broke it, besides the bot farm propaganda mass payouts of the NATO intelligence cabal, the Ukraine, army of digital digital hitmen, the Israeli massive intelligence network, and our own government and our own Democrats, and all of that. There's all that propaganda, but then there's also just the people who genuinely are organically looking for the next step and the next layer, because it's going to come domestic very soon, in the sense of a larger focus and awareness. And that's why you're having J.D. Vance talking about the Hamiltonian economics. Trump got the hard it had to do the hard stuff and is doing the hard stuff, the very, very hard stuff, the impossible hard stuff with all the people behind him making it happen. Okay, we're in the worst of it. And it's not like it can't get way worse. It could. But does it have to? Let's not get into the doom mode. Let's get into the what can it look like going forward as more people wake up with new minds, new understanding, and what it means for people to awaken and come to understand possibilities they maybe have never understood were possible before, about what life is like, what this country is like, things they never even, understood or experienced. And so that's where I am feeling it today. I think it has a lot of truth to it. And we're going to be seeing, like, the focus on what it means to be constitutionally aware, civil rights aware. Things are going to be changing. Things will be changing with the Fed control of the U.S. There could be the revaluation of gold. Um, Many, many positive things are coming. And so I just wanted to put that out there today. That's, I think, so important that as we look at this renewal, to understand we're in the grids, we're in, like, the grind, of getting through this right now. But there is sunshine ahead. There is, the other side. So stay with it. Don't freak out about who's thinking what for, you know, any period of short time. Just stay in your own know and pray, 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 and put on God's armor, because then you'll know. Then you'll know. Just follow your guidance and take action in your personal life. And the action is imperative, because the action is what makes the change happen. So thanks so much for listening. If you found this video to be helpful and extra information and useful analysis, and you want to support the channel, it would be so appreciated. Just really, could use the help on this little shoestring budget I'm on here, and helps me do more videos and more research time. So thanks so much. And also, everybody, check out c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. People just rave about this product because it is so incredible, just how pure it is and how powerful it is. The ESS60 molecule, made in Houston, Texas. These are the youngest, oldest guys in the business. Okay, they are basically they started the C60 revolution back in the day, but it was they didn't quite get on the full-on train until about, what was it, 5 or 6 years ago, producing the most incredible human grade supplement. Most carbon-6 you're going to find out there isn't pure. It isn't devoid of its solvents or toxins in how it's produced. And this one is. It's amazing. And so we're talking about it going into your mitochondria, cleaning the garbage out of your cells, and of course, cellular dysfunction and unwellness is what causes all of the degenerative diseases. So give it a check out. People at the big C clinics use it, buy it by the caseloads. It really is amazing for what it does in keeping healthy cells protected from unhealthy cells, and also flushing unhealthy cells out of the body. I hope you know what I mean when I say that. And of course, central nervous system disorders, all of this goes into the neurons, cleaning out your brain. This stuff is amazing. I love it. Check it out. And check out, the videos. I always link a video in my my description below, as well as all the links for these topics I talk about on the channel. And just watch interview with the people who run C60 Evo. They support me in this channel that is so beleaguered and shadow banned. And I always know it means I'm over the target. So I try not to get too bummed about that, but just know how much people have stuck with me for so many years. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow, and you are free.